Elm Logistics. For all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships.
Other question to you is this. When you were having some problems, we'll just say in the WWE, we hear about Vince McMahon being this father figure. Did you feel like you couldn't go to Vince about it, or the great John Laurinaitis? Did you feel you couldn't do that?
I didn't have much interactions with Vince, but I did feel I had some sort of a relationship with Laurinaitis. I felt very comfortable talking to him. And what's interesting is I would find myself in Laurinaitis' office because of these dudes getting butthurt because like of how I'm being. But so I guess what I'm saying is I kind of felt like people were like tattling, and I didn't even think it was worth bringing up to anybody because like, why? Like, why tell Laurinaitis? What the hell does Laurinaitis have? There he is. What the hell does Laurinaitis have to do with XYZ? Like, come on, get over it. So I never thought about like going to somebody like a Laurinaitis or Mark Carano or a Stephanie McMahon because I thought it was better to just handle it myself. Like, why they got so much to worry about. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we interrupting what they got going on? Like, who cares? So it just never crossed my mind, to be honest with you. But I would have totally probably talked to the three I just mentioned, Stephanie, Laurinaitis, and Mark Carano. And I just thought those were outside of work problems, even though it was with people at work that didn't need to be addressed to our bosses or our authority people at work.
Honest answer. I know it's going to be a difficult
Jimmy,
question.
by the way, I just want to say one thing. That's my type of employee. That's who should work for me. That's the type of stuff. That's what I like. But go ahead, Jimmy.
But of course, difficult question. Hopefully, do the best you can with it. What do you think of, look, there's been a lot of allegations about Vince McMahon, another guy who at the end of his life seems to be getting a lot of, his haters would say karma. Hasn't been arrested of anything, obviously, at this point. Do you have any feelings on what's going on with Vince McMahon and all these allegations?
Well, it's interesting because I get asked this all the time, of course, whether it's in an interview or people who know that I was in wrestling. And I don't mean to sound whatever, but this is the answer I always give. It's nothing new. It's just nothing new. And maybe to me, I look at it so like whatever, because you heard about these things so long ago. And not only that, it's like, I used to try to bring awareness to like things, especially after when I got fired and everything like that, right? And so something I've learned is people love gossip. They love to hear the gory details. They get their little dopamine hit, and once they're done, they move on to the next thing that people are gossiping about. And when I try to, I guess you'd say, expose or whatever people, what would end up happening is when everyone else has moved on, I'm the one left with the stress of dealing with threats, this, that, and the other, and my personal life's disrupted. Well, everyone else, not only have they moved on to the new gossip, but somebody like a Vince McMahon, who a lot of people have a very strong negative opinion of, which rightfully so. I guarantee you, give it a few more years, if he popped up on Raw or SmackDown, they're going to be cheering for him. They're going to be putting money in his pocket, and it's nothing new. What about the Sable thing back in the day? Like, what about like when he was on Phil Donahue and like the things they talked about there? Like, it's all out there. People forget. And then when they remember, they just want to whisper about it, but still hand over their money to somebody like a Vince McMahon.
But Shelly, let me ask you this question then. So your points are valid and everything you're saying. And by the way, you speak very intelligently, so it's just very. But here's the thing: when a person takes money for a transaction, in your mind, and I'm just asking, in your mind, doesn't that nullify everything the minute you take money? So you brought up Sable, right? That whole thing went on. Sable took money and then she came back, right? Janel Grant, she was taking money, and when the money ran out, she's back. I mean, so is there a point where people lose credibility when they take money?
Yes, and here's the thing. Not only is this not new in wrestling, in entertainment in general, this is nothing new. So and then here's the thing, you could be somebody that's not even in entertainment, but if you're rich, these things, you have the Janelle Grants and all these other people like on your payroll and this, that, and the other. That is just how it is. To me, if people are consenting to it, even if the acts are horrible and this and that and the other, I feel for people who have to live with like trauma based on decisions they've made because they felt that's what they needed to do. Everyone has their threshold. But I'm here to say I kind of have a little bit of a strong opinion on this, because from whether I was just a model, actress, girl, young Hollywood here, or it's been in the wrestling business and thereafter, I've had so many opportunities to take money or be in a situation or whatever, to be taken care of, this, that, and the other, all these different things, right? I had a choice and I didn't do it. And I'm not judging people who do, because to me, it wasn't worth it. I'll give you an example. When I was in TNA, I'm an idiot and I listened to Nova. I used to be friends with Nova. And when I told him how much they were trying to pay me in my contract when I first started, it was so low. And he said, just take it and you can always renegotiate. So that was one of the worst things I could have done, because I struggled hard. Even though I was on TV and it looked like I was this something, man, I was like having to take cold showers because my gas was shut off, like different things like that. Like it was rough. I was living rough. And I remember I was coming home from TNA and I got an audition with this dude from HBO for the show Entourage. And I was so excited because I was all about that show. And I went and met with this guy, and young Hollywood, especially back then, you know, he knew I smoked marijuana. So he was like, oh, let's go for a ride. Let's go smoke, because we can't smoke in the office. It's like, okay. And so we're talking about the show, whatever. And then he pulls over and he goes, and I kid you not, going back to like all this like trippy talk we have here, I was $500 short on my rent, and I was stressing out so hard because I was like, dude, because my sisters lived with me forever. We're almost constantly getting eviction notices, just barely making it, whatever. And so I was like so stressed out. So then this guy goes, look, if you just go down my pants right now and grab the money on my deck, I have 500. He didn't know it was $500 short, right? I didn't talk about any of my financial stuff. He goes, I have $500 there. It's yours.
$500 wrapped around his dick, like he was ready.
Yeah, he's ready. He's like,
I'm sorry to laugh. It's like, okay, let's prepare.
He's like,
for this.
I have $500. Just take it. He goes, just take it. And I looked at him and I was like, take it. I'm not going to take it. And he was like, why? I'm not even asking you to go down on me or anything. I'm just take it. Just take it. Just take it off of my dick. And I looked at him and I said, if I take that $500 off your dick, which to be honest with you, I am $500 short for my rent right now. When I go home, I'm going to like throw up looking at myself in the mirror. I just can't do it. I can't. Again, this is no judgment to anyone that would or does. This is just my threshold. Okay. And so things like that would happen. A lot of opportunities, or I have famous people wanting to take care of me because they knew my situation was what it was, you know? And I wouldn't take it because that was just not something that I was interested in. So going back to this stuff, I'm very aware of how things work. That's why it annoys me when things become a big thing and it's like an exposing somebody thing when really you knew what the deal was and you were down at the time. It sucks, but that's just is what it is. And then I feel it really takes away from people, specifically women, who are out there that get into bad situations that they were not trying to be in. And then they get looked at as a liar or discredited or whatever. So then it hurts the people out there who are not down, who after what's said and done, and then they're like, here's some hush money. Like, that's not the same as, you know, the deal. These are the things. If you don't want to do it, then you're off the payroll. That's different. And it just annoys me so much because there's so many. It happens to everyone, but I have a passion for women. So many women, and then that's why women give up and don't want to say anything because it's like, why? So then all of a sudden I get called, oh, well, you're this and that and the other. And it's like, it's so upside down. So I feel it really hurts the validation of people who need help, who need to be seeking justice, however that is. And it just really pisses me off. So when this whole Janel Grant thing came out, I was like, so what exactly did he do that's illegal? I'm not saying the things he did aren't creepy.
Right. You have morality, right? Morals, and then you have legality, right?
Right.
That's right.
And so, you know, it was just, that's why I wouldn't even weigh in on it. I wouldn't even throw my energy into it. I never watched that documentary because I was like, dude, the things they're going to talk about on there, I already know. And a lot of it, like the really juicy stuff, behind the scenes, everyone knew. And not only that, if you go on the YouTube and go down a rabbit hole, it's actually been on there for 10 plus years, all this information. So it's like, it's nothing new.
So I want to bring this full circle then, because Jimmy and I were talking about on the first show. So here you are talking about the empowerment of women, which I find very, very important. So does it bother you that a Hulk Hogan gets the hatred he gets for dropping a word that you shouldn't use, but there's women being abused on a regular basis and it's not considered at the same level? A word is worse than what's actually happening to women out there.
1,000,000,000%. And it's hard because, like, okay, something that I've come to realize in more recent years is, you know, when I've looked back on these times where I got into trouble by being me, especially if it's me kind of taking up for somebody and people were like, that wasn't even your business, like blah, 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 blah. And I think that the reason why, or I know the reason why I'm that way is because I know how it feels when everyone around you knows what's going on. They're looking the other way, especially if the person that is doing things that are vile are a celebrity status. That also changes things. And it's just mixes everything up. And that's why, like, even though I've lost opportunities, I'm pretty sure I've been blackballed in the business many times over, I don't regret ever getting in trouble for speaking up, whether it was for myself or on the behalf of somebody else, because at least that made me feel like I did something about it versus just sitting back and not saying anything or being online fighting with people. It's like, no, that's what you do. You got to do something about it. So there it is. Some people think I'm a bitch. Some people want to say I'm bitter, whatever. I don't care. Someone's got to say this shit. and I'll be that bitch to do it.